So as usual, we'll basically speak on the Parsha and hopefully get some insights that will give us some inspiration, encouragement, and guidance. I want to make mention out of us. How is that for your projection?
Okay.
Pretty good, right? Mitzvah Hashem. Pasuk is Sisso. So in general, you know, I don't know how far you learned, and whether you know the pasuk from before. This pasuk is Sisso is very unique, very unusual, in that it describes a deepest downfall of the Jewish people possible, the lowest downfall. And then it also describes the greatest ascent, the greatest rise. The downfall is the Avodah Zarah. They built an Egel in the Midbar, less than 2 months after Matan Torah. Really a shocking thing. And then after that, Moshe interceded and did all the things that Moshe Rabbeinu did. He succeeded in getting the Yidden uniquely identified by Hashem even more than before. Because as you will learn in Mitzvah Hashem, Rashi explains that up until that time, there was Ashroaz Ashchina, there was Nevuah possible even by non-Jews. From then on, it was then exclusively assigned to Jewish people, and it's not possible anymore to others. So that the Yidden have received a unique identification with Hashem even more than before the Avir, than before the downfall.
But this was Bilam after this.
Bilam was after this. His nevuah was after this, but he pre-existed before.
Yeah.
Well, he was pretty old.
He's from before, right? Huh?
He was old then, yeah.
He was old then, yes. Bilam was there before Golus Mitzrayim. He was one of the advisors of Paro. He told him, "Get down on those Jews." Also, the Gimel Midas Horachamim that we say every day, Gimel Midas Horachamim that express the greatest and the deepest aspects of Hashem, these were revealed to Moshe in this parsha after the Egel. Coming back to the beginning of the parsha, the parsha begins, Ki Sisso es roish b'nei Yisrael. But Hashem says to Moshe, when you will basically take up the number, the count of Rosh Bnei Yisrael. So when you count Eden, don't count them by person, but count them by half shekels that each one of them will contribute, will give. And these half shekels will be a pidyon nefesh, will be a redemption for their souls, to protect them against any kind of plague, any kind of negative effect of the counting. That's what the pasuk says. So I want to focus in on this little parsha of this Sisso and the Machzis HaShekel. First, a very small comment on the Inyan of Kisiso. The word Kisiso implies and speaks about taking account of the Yidden. But the word Kisiso, by definition, the literal word Kisiso means when you will uplift, when you will pick up.
Elevate.
Huh?
Elevate.
Elevate. So, lift up. The relationship between uplift and taking account is as follows. This in itself is an important thought, an important reflection that we all should be aware of. The human being that's the new motor.
Turn it off. It's
Huh?
warm the turbo power. I think it's warm here. We can turn it down a little bit. That makes sense.
What's been the
Nice.
Excuse me?
To turn off for a moment.
Okay.
Is there a connection between the word Sisso and Asiya?
Asiya?
Asiya, like the word action, and the word
No,
Sisso?
no. Totally different. The human being, of all the things that exist that Hashem created, is unique in many ways. One of the ways that you can readily see on the most external, first glance level is that all other species you refer to by their general description. This is an animal, this is a cow, or even more specifically a horse, a sheep, or a tiger, but you don't have individual names for each one. They all go by the species kind. A human being, you don't refer to a human being by saying this is a person. You refer to him by name. Because a human being, every human being is unique. It's true that all the people were made in similar fashion from Adam Orishim, but everyone is unique. Everyone has individual place and purpose and function in the world. They're not all the same. And for this reason, they each have a name of their own. When you talk about a person, you talk by name, because you're talking about not about a person, but about this person. Okay? It's one way to train your voice, you know.
Are you saying something right now?
Train your ears too. And the similar union is in this count. When you say Kisiso es Bnei Yisrael, you take up their count. What is the significance of counting even? In count, every individual person, regardless of his status, regardless of his qualities, counts for one. They all count as for one. Moshe Rabbeinu is one, and the simplest of Eden is one. Why? Because this count relates and touches and addresses the very essence of the person. And at the essence level, they are all the same. In essence, there is the neshama, And the neshama, this is the essence of this. It's one thing with Hashem, and being one thing with Hashem, they're all the same. In pointing out this unique aspect in a person, this deepest aspect, the essence of his neshama, this is a statement of elevation. You're bringing out the highest and the most unique thing in the person. And when you bring out the highest and most unique thing in the person, he needs special protection. Because the minute you start saying, this person, this is a human being, and he's got a godly soul, you begin to scrutinize him. Does he live up to being what he should be? He's really performing accordingly? So to protect him against this kind of scrutiny, while you're counting him, so you give pidyon nefesh. To protect him, pidyon nefesh, to redeem his soul. You don't count him directly, say that this docket, this gift will protect him against any kind of evil view.
And what's gonna protect him?
The Machzis HaShekel, the tzedakah that he gives. There's a similar inyan by Bichas Kohanim. You know, by Bichas Kohanim, when we stand in front of the Kohanim, and the Kohanim give us these tremendous brachas, we cover ourselves with a talus. Sometimes we have one talus over several people. The simple and obvious reason for that, so to speak, the nigler reason, the practical reason, is that we should not look at the Kohen, because you're not supposed to look at the hands of the Kohen. It can hurt from memory or whatever else, eyesight. But the fact is that the Kohen don't even put their hands out. They keep them under the talus, so you can't even see them anyway. So why do we cover ourselves? We cover ourselves so that we are not seen. Because once every individual becomes to be seen, when he's getting such a bracha, there could be, as I said, the scrutiny applied. Does he deserve it? So we cover ourselves. Nobody sees who we are, and therefore we receive a bracha together with everybody else as a klal, as a community, rather than individuals. That is also a certain aspect of protection against the evil eye. There's a similar inyan also. Once started, I just want to point out an interesting inyan that you know that by Hetzor Sefer Torah, when you take the Sefer Torah out on Yom Tov, so we say Hashem, Hashem. We say the Shlesh Asher Midos and the Rebbeinu Shalom. So on Yom Tov, the Rebbeinu Shalom has also the place where we mention our names. Rosh Hashanah and Kippur also we do the same thing, but we don't have the names mentioned. The reason for that is a similar thing. That since we talk about Rosh Hashanah and Kippur, we're asking for forgiveness, so we don't want to be uniquely identified. We want to be part of the cloud. And that is also a means to be just included in the cloud rather than sticking out as an individual. Okay, that's Sisso. So Sisso is a means of elevating and pointing out the greatness, the special quality of the Yid. In addition to the counting, Rashi points out that these Machatzis HaShekel were actually pidyon nefesh, not just to protect them against the evil eye of the count, but also to be an atonement to wipe away the sin of the Egel. Because even though it's mentioned before, but actually this Sisso was after. The Egel took place before the Parsha of Sisso originally, so the Matzah HaShekel. The Matzah HaShekel came as a means to wipe away the evil effect, the ill effects of the Egel from the Bidin Nefesh.
So then after it's the middle of the parsha comes after the beginning. The beginning of the parsha comes after the middle of the parsha.
Right. Right. That's not unusual at all in the Torah Bichlal. And in this case, it is quite an obvious point in that the Rebishter always provides the refuah, so to speak, the cure before the makkah. So before the makkah happens, you say you want to be able to come out of it. Otherwise, when you fall into it, you think, all hope is lost. So Hashem says to Moshe that to get a kapora for the Egel, let the Yidden give a machzis a shekel, a half a shekel. And the Gemara says that Moshe Rabbeinu had a difficulty in understanding what the machzis a shekel is. Huh?
Rabbi Meir.
Not a Gemara. Niskasha Moshe. What's what Moshe had a difficulty in identifying the Matzah HaShekel? So the Rebbe explains that the difficulty is that he couldn't understand how a Matzah HaShekel can bring kapor for Egel. And then the Gemara says that Niskasha Moshe had a difficulty in identifying with the Matzah HaShekel Inyan. And Hashem took out from Tachis Kisei HaKovid, it says, he took out from his throne a shekel of fire, a Matzah HaShekel of fire, and he showed Moshe, and he said to him, this is what they should give. This is the Matzah HaShekel that they should give. And that explained to Moshe the whole thing. So the Rebbe explains what is this, what is it about, what was the explanation, and what was the difficulty, and how the Matzah HaShekel of fire, what kind of Matzah HaShekel is this of fire? A matbeya shalesh, a coin of fire. And the Rebbe explains, this is a sikha that you can learn, I'm just bringing it in because I want to speak on certain aspects of it. Fire and matbeya are opposites. Fire, the nature of fire is the one element in the world that its nature is constantly to rise upwards. No other element rises upwards except for fire. Water descends down, earth sinks, and even wind also stays in its place. Fire is the only one that rises up. And thus, fire is symbolic. Fire it actually represents the nature of the neshama. The neshama of a Yidden is constantly rising upwards, as the Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya. Because the neshama is one thing with Hashem, the neshama only recognizes Hashem as a true presence. That cannot relate to anything else. So the neshama is in constant strive to rise upwards. So this is fire. What's a matbeya? Matbeya is a coin, a unit of money. money in our world is unique in the opposite direction. Everything in the world has some kind of what we call a redeeming quality. Has some kind of quality. It represents something. It has some kind of a useful function in itself. This is a cup. This is a watch. It's not just this is here. It has a function. It has a quality. Except for money. Money is nothing. There is no quality to money. Its value is only in its quantity, and only with what you can get for it. It in itself is totally useless. In other words, it's the bottommost presence in the world. It's the lowest element.
Yet it's the most coveted.
Say again?
Yet it's the most coveted.
It's the least. It has no ruchnius to it. In other words, it is gashmi shel gashmi completely. It has no quality whatsoever. These two opposite qualities, fire and matbeya. And matbeya, actually, the Rebbe points out, is related to the word teva. Teva means something that is sunk completely into worldliness, and it recognizes only world, doesn't recognize the godliness whatsoever. These two qualities, in avoida, in a human being, they represent the highest and the lowest aspect of a person's avodah. The highest is the fire. When the person gets fully aroused and recognizes Hashem's presence, to the extent that he only wants Hashem, he doesn't want anything else. This is it's called the etzem hanefesh, the essence of the nefesh. Matbeya, that represents the lowest. What is the lowest level in avodas Hashem? The lowest level of Hashem is Kabbalah's oil. Kabbalah's oil, we spoke about it several times already, and I'd like you to understand it, correctly. Kabbalah's oil means taking on, accepting the yoke of heaven. When you say you accept the yoke, means that you are kind of saddled. You don't have an understanding of it. You don't have any excitement about it, but you simply accept it and you do what you're told. So, if the Yidden are to give a matbeya, are to give a half a shekel, which is a matbeya, that means that they're giving something totally insignificant. They're giving a piece of money which has no qualitative value whatsoever. It's not representative of nefesh, not representative of a human being. So Moshe Rabbeinu couldn't understand. How can this be a redemption for the soul? How is it connected to the soul? So Hashem showed him that actually this matbeya is actually made of fire. The principle in the fact that they say that it's made of fire, and I want to speak on the avoida part, as we spoke many times, that this Kabbalah's oil, this discipline, this accepting of the rule of heaven, is not a low level acceptance that does not have any kind of recognition behind it. Even though it means accepting, it says Kabbalah soil, still it is quite a difference between a human being accepting the yoke and the yoke that you put on a horse or an animal. An animal you also put a harness on. But the harness means nothing. The animal is taking on the harness not because it recognizes I have to accept the harness. There's a reason. I respect my boss and I have to take his harness. There's absolutely no cognizance there at all. It's being trained to allow itself to be harnessed. Looking at the translation of a word? Ask me. Harness. Harness is what you put on the horse to tie his so Kabbalah's oil by a human being, the Rebbe showed Moshe, is a completely different thing. This is not a low down element that is completely without the insight. What is the insight of Kabbalah soil? What brings a person to Kabbalah soil? In fact, it is related to the fire of the neshama, to the very essence of the neshama. Because that he has this essence of the neshama that knows only of Hashem. So even though in his logical, in the conscious and intellectual level, he doesn't understand the Inyan that he is being told to do, but he recognizes, he knows the absolute truth of Elokus. Why? Because it's reflected in him from the neshama. And this knowledge, even though he doesn't understand it, this is what enables him to be makabel lo, to do without understanding. Because he recognizes that there is this greatness that is there that he cannot possibly understand. But he wants to relate to this greatness. And the only way to relate to this greatness is through Kabbalah Soil. And this is what the Rebbe showed him, that this Matbeya is not a simple Matbeya. This Matbeya is a Matbeya that is related to the Etzem of the Neshama. And this is why it can actually atone and get forgiveness and wipe away the effects of the Aveira. Because even though there was such a severe grave Aveira, like the Egel, but we all know that any time that a Yid falls through and is involved in Aveira, it is only the externals of the Neshama. The Etzem, the Neshama itself, cannot be damaged by Aveira, cannot be affected by it, because it's one thing with Hashem. And this is a principle. If you want to heal, you know what heal means? Cure something. If you want to heal something, you have to find the healthy part of the person. By finding the healthy part of the person and encouraging that, this heals the unhealthy part. Since that the neshama, there is a healthy part remaining, no matter how far a person sinned, there's a healthy part in him remaining. This is the fire of the neshama, the etzem of the neshama. By bringing out this etzem of the neshama, you can heal the errors and the ill effects of all the mistakes. How do you relate to this etzem of the neshama? You relate to the etzem of the neshama through this matbeya, through this Kabbalah soul. Because this is not something that you can understand in your seichel, not something that you can really appreciate in an open way, because it's beyond understanding. But you can relate to it, and you know it's there, and we can bring it into your functioning, into your life through Kabbalah soil. And this is the principle which I discussed many times, and I want to delve on it a little more again. Before I do, I just want to complete all the points in that wonderful Sikha of the Rebbe. You may have learned it, or you may have learned it yourselves when you come, but once I chazed the Sikha, I just want to bring it as many points as I can. The Rebbe points out that these these machzis ha-shekel, these half shekels, were used in building the Mishkan. And what part of the Mishkan were they used for? For the Adonim, which are the bases that held up the boards, the crushing. Which means that this is really not part of the Mishkan, because the boards and the curtains were the part of the Mishkan. This was only a base that held it up, but this held it up and made possible to build the Mishkan, the whole Mishkan. Another point the Rebbe points out, that Hashem said that he should give a half shekel. And there's an emphasis in the Torah that should be a half shekel. Not 20 geir or 10 geir, but a half shekel. What's significant in this half? The principle of half indicates that this fire of the neshama, because that the neshama recognizes, the neshama is one thing with Hashem, and in this connection and relationship with the neshama with Hashem, one of the things that I recognize is that the neshama and Hashem is one thing. So therefore, each one of them, Hashem and the neshama, are half of one thing. And this is symbolized by giving a half a shekel. They give their half, and the other half is the fire of the neshama, the fire of Hashem. I said I want to discuss this Matbeya part and the Kabbalah soil part in context of the Sikha. There are two ways that a person directs his behavior in his life. One is from the perspective that since he is a human being and he is intelligent, he has to learn to behave properly that is becoming, that is suitable for a human being. The other is that he recognizes not just who he is, but by virtue of his intelligence, he recognizes beyond who he is. He recognizes where he is. Who is the world belong to? And in whose presence does he live? Where is his life coming from? And where is everything coming from? What is the significance of all existence? This is in a completely different perspective. This is not a question of behave according to your level, according to who you are. This goes beyond the person himself. that which we are, the intelligence that we have, allows us to view and to have a perspective of something which is greater than ourselves. Not just who I am, but who made me? Where am I coming from? And what is the world all about? And whose presence am I? Where am I? This is clearly, on the one hand, what I am, in other words, what we always speak about, the human seichel anushi. This is something which I can very well comprehend. I can understand these things. I can relate to them. I can have full relationship and full sense and feeling for these values, how a human being is supposed to behave. The significance and the greatness and the glory of the place that I am in, where I am, this is something which I cannot possibly understand. As much as I think about it, as much as I learn about it, it's always beyond comprehension. Like we learn for those who learn in the Maimon that we learn, this brings us face to face. This gives us this relates us to the greatness of the Creator Himself. This is not who I am. This simply gives me a cognizance and relates me that I should become aware of the greatness of the Creator. This is a completely different approach to Avodah, to Avodas Hashem.
What's this approach?
Approach means the way to come to, the way to Lehiskarev. Okay? Excuse me?
Two ways.
Two ways, yeah, I explained it two ways. The Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya that there is Kedusha and there is Klipa. Kedusha means everything that's holy, everything that has to do with godliness. That relates to God in a frontal, face-to-face manner. I'll explain what that means. Then there is the opposite, what's called Klipa, Sitra Achara. That Hashem relates to from the back. What does this mean? What is the front and the back? This is as an example, in between two people. If someone does that you care about, and and somebody gives you a gift, and he gives you a gift because he's a friend of yours. So there, even though you're very happy for the gift, but the most important part of the gift is not the gift itself, the value of the gift. The most important part of the gift is the person that you got it from. The fact that this gift represents your friendship. That's the most important part of the gift. If you get it from someone that you don't care about, so there the value of the gift is only the value itself, not the fact that it connects you to this other person. This is the difference between ponim and ocher. Ponim means that you're receiving frontally, means that you care who you're receiving to. Ocher means that you're receiving, but you don't care who you're receiving to. Your attention is only to what you're receiving, not who you're receiving it from. This similar difference is applied on a higher and a more refined level in the what we discussed before. Hashem gave us intelligence, gave us seichel, and in this seichel there is two ways to apply it. One is that we understand ourselves, but we don't really relate to the fact that it's Hashem who gave us the seichel. We relate to ourselves. The seichel is a wonderful thing, and I can do a whole bunch of good things with it. But it's my gift. I'm interested in the power of the seichel itself. Then there is another thing. There is the union that this seichel gives us an inkling, an insight, and relates us to the one who gave it to us. This is a totally different recognition. This relating in the seichel to not to the seichel itself, but to the fact that Hashem gave it to us, this is where we truly relate to Hashem. While it is true that a person has to live up to his potential, a person has to live up to his intelligence, has to utilize his intellectual powers and understand and learn as much as he can. But there is even a higher aspect in this seichel, and that is that he has to know where it's coming from. This is also part of the seichel, but this is a superior, higher kind of a seichel. This is the seichel that's called the fire of the neshama. Fire, that which rises upwards. This is not that which defines who I am. This is that which defines where am I coming from, what's above me. So, do I have you with me so far?
Yeah.
Yes? This way, that way?
Not really.
Not really. When did I lose you?
Two ways. That we receive and we want to know from who we are receiving. And second way is we don't want. We not care.
Right.
And that's it.
That's where you lost.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell me, so I'll explain to you. So this you understand? Okay. Fine. Very good. Everybody else? You're also over there, or you're with me at this point? Also over there?
I'm with you.
You're with me. So I explained that the way we use the gift that Hashem gave us, the gift of intelligence, of seichel, also there are these two ways. There's one thing in seichel that we learn all that we can learn without our seichel, to understand the world, understand right from wrong, good and bad, how we're supposed to behave, and all of those things. These are all things that we can readily understand with our seichel. Then there is, but this is something which it becomes part of us. This is what we got. This is our property, our seichel. But then, in addition to that, there is a higher aspect of the seichel, and that is that the seichel allows us to recognize. allows us, gives us the opportunity, the ability to recognize that this seichel came from someplace. It's not just we have it. It was given to us. Where did it come from? It came from something which is higher than seichel. You understand? It came from Hashem. And this is the real aspect of the seichel, where we want to know not just what I received, but who I received it from. And I want to connect and relate to not just what I have and appreciate the gift that I have, but appreciate the giver, where I got it from. Okay, so far. This aspect that you're looking for to appreciate the giver, this is like the fire of the neshama. Fire, like I said before, fire rises upwards. In other words, it is not something that defines itself. It is something that goes upwards to the source. Where is it coming from? Okay? This quality in our mind, in our intellect, in our insight, that gives us an inkling and a sense as to where it's all coming from, where we have it from, this we cannot fully understand, because it's higher than our understanding. How do we relate to it? How do we bring that into our lives? We bring that into our lives through Kabbalah's oil. Kabbalah's oil means that I recognize that there is a greater being that I don't understand, that I cannot fully comprehend, but I want to relate to him. And I accept his rulership. In other words, the insight, the background of Kabbalah's soil is even deeper than the intellect, than the normal intellect. Normal intellect is what I fully understand. This is something which is higher than what I fully understand. So, I got you? You got me?
I think we have to get the giver.
Does this qualifier have anything to do with like God's the tetragrammaton? You know, the unpronounceable name, the one with four.
I don't know. The Kabbalah and all the thing, I don't know. I want to be sure to understand the power and the value of Kabbalah soil, because this is the principle of Yiddishkeit. If you understand, if you appreciate, we can relate to Kabbalah soil, we can grow exponentially, without limit.
Exponential.
Exponential means by multiplication. We spoke about this not long ago, but different angle. There is the general, what's called the general expanse of time. Person has time. There's a person without Kabbalah, without discipline. So by him, he can do anytime anything he wants. The time just flows one day into the other, 1 hour into the other, 1 week into the other. It's insignificant. So you think that this person is involved in the real flow of time. It's infinite. He's constantly doing something and he's involved in what's going on. The truth is that without allocating his time, without being disciplined in his time, allocating certain times for everything, he does not relate to time at all. This is called hefker. Hefker. Hefker means without unbridled, without meaning, without ownership.
Oh, like free stuff. Like free stuff, like free clothing. Hefker.
Yeah. Just as if you want to drink, how do you drink? You take a cup of water. If somebody tells you, oh, there's a lake over there, go drink. You can drink from the lake. The water can come from the lake, but how does it come to drink? You have to put it in a cup. The same is true regarding all that we do. Kabbalah soil is the principle that sets us on the path. It's what's called discipline. There's a time for everything. And if it's done on this fashion, this is the only way that the drink will come into your mouth and will be appreciated. If you jump into the lake to drink, you can drown it, but you can drink.
Why is that Yiddishkeit? Why does Kabbalah have to do with Yiddishkeit? Like Yiddishkeit is extremely good on Hanukkah, you know? You can Yiddish expressions here and there. That's Yiddishkeit. What's Kabbalah have to do with it?
Yiddishkeit, by definition, means relating to Hashem. That's what Yiddishkeit is. Yiddishkeit comes from the word Yehuda. And Yehuda is Oides Hashem. This is relating to Hashem. That's what the word Yehuda means.
What does it mean? What does Yehuda mean?
Yehuda means praising Hashem.
Like Hodi, right?
That's right. That's right. So, while I apologize for getting you all tired,
It was the pasta for lunch.
but
The blood that sends the stomach to process the pasta, so it goes away from the brain.
but nevertheless, I hope that at a better time we'll have a chance to reflect on what we discussed and understand that Kabbalah soil is a wonderful, beautiful thing. Kabbalah soil is not just putting a yoke and superimposing something on us that kind of harnesses us or puts us into a straitjacket. Kabbalah soil is the deepest recognition that we can possibly have. And Kabbalah soil is a means, is a method to relate to it and to capture it. Yeah.
What does Kabbalah have to do with Seder Hishtalshut?
Next time.
Next time.
All right. As I said, I just want to summarize and conclude that this Matbeya, this Kabbalah soil, this is really, no matter how much we learn and what we learn, if we don't have self-discipline, we are lacking a relationship to true life. We're living nowhere. We're living in ourselves. To relate to where we live, to relate to Hashem's world, to know that we live in a meaningful and a purposeful world, we have to have self-discipline. You have to know the time for things. You have to do things on time and in an orderly fashion. As simple as it sounds, it's the key to bracha and success. It's the only key. There's no other way. Someone once wrote to the Rebbe, a Bocher wrote to the Rebbe that he is not, he doesn't fit into the Seder of the yeshiva. He doesn't seem to appreciate the Seder of the yeshiva. And he has a plan for himself. And he wrote out to the Rebbe a whole plan, how he wants to learn for himself. Very extensive plan. I mean, he's going to learn this time this and this, and he's going to, and hopefully this will lead him to climb up the mountain of Hashem. That's what he wrote. This will lead him to climb up the mountain of Hashem. The Rebbe erased the word to climb up to Hashem, and right next to the word it will lead him, he erased climb up Hashem, it will lead him to Shoel Tachtis, to the bottom pit.
Whoa.
You just sent him back the same letter, just with that.
That's how the Rebbe was just.
But I'm saying that was the only change.
The only change.
The exact same letter and just change.
That's what I said. And then he said he should better get back into the Seder Yeshiva and do what he has to do. There's halacha, maybe I'll take another minute. There's halacha. Again, I don't remember if I mentioned it to you. Halacha is like this. If a person wants to fast because he wants to cleanse from his whatever, from his Yetzer Hara. Clean up. He wants to fast for whatever reason. So the din is that what is considered a tainis only if he accepted the tainis the night before. In Mincha, by Tfilas Mincha, he has to say that he's accepting the tainis tomorrow, and then when he fasts tomorrow, it's a tainis. If he failed to mention it, if he forgot, whatever, he didn't accept the tainis the night before, and he fasts the next day. So it says he fasted a full day. It's absolutely nothing. It's not a fast. It's not a fast. It's not a Avodas Hashem. He didn't do anything. He just tortured himself for nothing.
What's the time?
Tainis, a fast. It's nothing. It's not a time. It's not a fast. Why? He fasted. The answer is that in Torah, in Kedusha, everything has to be done in a premeditated manner. It's seichel. It has to be decided beforehand, this is what I'm going to do, and then do it. If he does things spontaneously when he feels like, it's not Kedusha. That's not a real deed. Why? As we explained just now. Because when it is premeditated and it's planned, then he's doing Avodas Hashem. He's doing it for Hashem. He recognizes that there is a boss in the world and he's planning his day. If he does things spontaneously when he feels like, then it's his own experience. Nothing to do with Hashem. So, hopefully, communicated the point as much as we can. Hopefully, you will understand and take up on it and understand the importance of Kabbalah Sale, the importance of a Seder, knowing when you're going to do what, and do it. A little bit done with a premeditated and pre-planned way is worth much, much more than if you do twice or three times as much, not premeditated. Because when it's premeditated, you are doing for Hashem. Hashem is with you. Otherwise, you're doing it on your own. It doesn't have anywhere near the effect and the power, the significance of this. And since we all want to have as much success as possible, so therefore this is the way to do it, and you should all have much success. And as I said, Mitzvah Hashem, we'll all be mentioned sooner or later. That's Rabbi.